a very special episode of On VJ's playlist for me because I'm getting to interact for the first time with one of my earliest favorite bands from the scene, and I couldn't have asked for something more gratifying. But Black Letters, Sarang and Sharath, thank you so much for doing this episode with me today. Firstly, how are you doing?
Hey, thank you so much for having us, Vijayalakshmi. It's great. Thank you.
Hi,
Yeah, it's
Sarang,
great
how are
being
you?
here. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. I'm doing well. How are you?
Very well, I guess. Safe to say, guys, that there's now a certain sense of normalcy that has kind of been restored post a very, very long, taxing and grueling and very overwhelming pandemic. Uh, it's kind of really a pleasant sight to see that, bands and artists have kind of taken to the stage again, and everybody's performing. I think y'all have just done the Indie Rock Festival in, at the Bolgati Palace in Kochi. So, how has it been, coming back to the stage?
It's good. A few shows to begin with this year. We hadn't played a lot of shows in the last 3 years, I think. So it's good to be back, slowly getting in the groove, working on our songs that already we were playing, but then still a lot of work to do for the new songs. So we are busy doing that, and yeah, that's what we've
And
been
actually,
doing.
and actually, a slight correction from my end. I think I said Indie Rock Festival in jest, but
Oh
I
yeah,
think it is Indie Gaga,
that's
right?
fine. It's Indie Gaga. Yeah, yeah, that's okay.
Right.
That's good.
Saran, how's it been for you? How's the experience of coming back to the stage, resuming the stage again after a pandemic been?
Yeah, it's been great. We haven't played a lot, as Sharad said. Indie Gaga was amazing because it's a hometown gig, which doesn't happen often for us, and because Cochin doesn't have a lot of venues. I mean, I don't
Yep.
know. I mean, Bangalore doesn't have a lot of venues as it used to. Thanks for the pandemic. So yeah, so it's special coming back to and playing Cochin. So it's a great place to start, and we have a song out which has been pending as always with us for a long time. So yeah, so it's a good start. So hopefully you'll see a lot more of us, both live as well as releasing music.
Well, I'm just happy to see you back because for our viewers who are watching, a little before we started this episode, I was speaking to both Sarang and Sharath, and then off the record, I was also speaking to Akash. And one of the things I was very happy to like kind of express was how beautiful it was just to hear the band all over again. Because one of my earliest memories of Black Letters is when I first started hearing them when Falter had released. And now they are back with a brand new single called Simple Times, much to the delight of everybody who has been following the band for the last couple of years. So I wanted to ask was where did Simple Times come from? What is it a homage of sorts to how life was before the pandemic, the kind of bubble that more or less we all lived in, and somewhere the pandemic really broke it down for every one of us, and kind of democratized us in our situations. Is Simple Times a tribute to that, the bubble that
Could
we were
be.
living in?
It could be, but it's quite personal. Also, in the sense, the way we used to write songs, the way we used to be as a band, and also the way we were as human beings. Not pre-pandemic per se, but you could say that's probably gotten into the song as well. We can't
Yeah.
deny that. I mean, everybody got affected by the pandemic, some or the other way. So that could be there. But at the same time, it's more slightly more broad, slightly more universal. It is definitely universal either way, but still, it's slightly more broader than getting affected by the pandemic and how life was before. It's more personal and more in terms of relationships and people in our lives and how we think about ourselves and how we process our thoughts. And yeah.
Karen, you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think basically what Sharad said, I think people relate to it in their own different ways because I think, as you said, I think you probably related more from a pandemic perspective. Now, some people just relate to it in very, very different ways. We've had very different people asking about, like, is it just as you said, homage to like what we were before mobile phones and stuff like that. But not really. But it's just basically a mindset change for us in terms of how we are as a band and how we are with each other and stuff like that. So I think it's more personal for us. For others, it might be. I mean, it's personal for them in their own way. So that's how I would probably put it.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at it this way, that everyone is well within their rights to have their own interpretation of what simple times really
Absolutely.
mean. Yeah.
That's the idea. That's the idea also.
Absolutely. But Sanang and Sharad, please, I mean, for many of us who aren't aware, or, for many of us who still are unfamiliar with your journey, it's gonna be a decade next year since you guys started with your debut back in 2014. And when you look at your journey in retrospect, and it's been a momentous ride. Back in 2014, like, indie was so niche. It was a very, very like an uncharted territory of sorts. And then you make your debut with Shapes on the Wall. How do you look at your journey from the time you began to what you see of it now, taking into account the unfamiliarity, taking into the account surviving a pandemic, and sticking together as a band? Because I think as a quartet, when we include Arjun Radhakrishnan and Akash Chako, the other two members also of the band, you all have pretty much stuck around, right?
I think that's the whole point. The only reason why we are still making music is because we kind of managed to stick around as friends and as people making music. So yeah, there is definitely a lot of beauty in that. There is also a lot of resilience involved. It's a very some people can perceive it in a very glamorous way, like band and this and that, but it's honestly just like four people in a room and four people in a company or whatever you want to call it. So there's all sorts of like emotions, and there's all sorts of things that we need to figure out. It's like almost like in a relationship, I would say. So just that there's three people here, and there's a little bit more balance and more outlook about things, and so that kind of gets into our music as well, which is the good part. So whatever we go through as a band, and also whatever we go through as human beings in our personal lives, that the transparency that we have between us, all four of us, and at some point five of us, that's what really contributed to the songs that we've written and the songs that we will write. Yeah, so that's the beauty. But also, it's definitely not an easy ride, but it's definitely worth it. It's being worth it. Yeah, almost like a therapy, I would say.
Actually,
I think the
there's a
band
certain.
has.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
the
were
band
saying.
has actually. Yeah, sorry. The band has actually been around for more than a decade because I mean, if you're counting from the time that Shapes on the Wall actually got released, then it's a decade next year. But Shapes on the Wall is an album that took almost 2.5 years to write in itself. So we were a band before that. We used to play competitions before that, and even before that, I mean, we knew each other for a long time. So I think I met Akash and Arjun when I was probably 12, 13 or something. And then Sharat I met when I was 15 or 16 or something like that in high school. So we've known each other for a very, very long time. Maybe as a band, when we started performing, maybe our first gig was probably 2010, 2011 or something. And then from there, we had a phase of college competitions and stuff like that. And then the album came out. So I think it's been much longer than just 10 years between the 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think an easier way to put that, first we were dating, and then we were in a relationship, and then we started living in, and then now we are like married. So it's like 10 years of whatever, and then 4 years of living in, and 5 years of dating or whatever.
Well, actually, it's kind of interesting, because fans I don't think are aware that, half of you are based in Bangalore, whereas I know Akash is based in Kochi. So I mean, how do you guys stay in sync? How are these synergies intact? Because geographical boundaries, the time, no, I won't say time zone, because we are obviously more or less there's hardly a
Yeah.
difference in the time zone, but
Just that
the
people
fact
sleep at different times. All of us need to wake up.
So there's
so
Yeah, anyway.
there are night owls and there are early risers in the band.
Yeah, for sure, for
yeah,
sure.
Sarath doesn't sleep also, so it makes
Yeah, I sleep. I mean, sleep is like foremost important for me. These guys think that I don't sleep because whenever they're awake, I mean, in
Yeah.
the night, I'm asleep. And whenever they're sleeping in the morning, I'm awake. So for them, I'm not sleeping, but actually, I'm sleeping more than all of them.
So who is the one who is like you could say from the band is like has the most creative bend of mind? Like this is the person like when four of you are kind of zeroing on a decision, like who has like the final word, the final say in it?
Mostly, it's like just to briefly go back to your previous question.
Yeah.
I think the answer to this will come from that. I feel like so most of us have very similar set of values, and the values that we have developed as people have strangely been somewhat similar. Is also because we are not just bandmates; we are also good friends. So the bouncing off of each other thing keeps happening almost every time, and we sort of learn from each other. So the set of values, I think, we share more than the differences. We share commonalities. So that is probably one of the main reasons why, like you said, even though for more than half of our career so far, we've been in different districts, different states actually.
Yeah.
And now we are in Bangalore. Three of us are in Bangalore, and Hari, who plays bass for us right now, he is in Cochin. He just moved back to Cochin. So yeah, I think that's probably the answer that I would arrive at for your question. And what did you ask just now? You were saying.
So I was asking was when you all are sitting and zeroing on a creative
Ah,
decision,
okay, yeah.
like how do you reach the final outcome of it? Like whose word is counted as the final word between all of you?
A lot of the things that involve in our songwriting or production, it's mostly natural. I wouldn't say like it's force of nature and things just come together and the universe conspires. I wouldn't say that, but it's mostly like I said, our values are very similar, and our sense of aesthetics have evolved in a similar direction. Our sense of music tastes are very different, but at the same time, we strive to get to the same kind of feeling that we want in the music that we make. So, and also we give a lot of freedom to each other, and we trust each other's contribution to the music. And sometimes a lot of songs could be just one person getting involved, but everybody else would feel like they've made it. It's because we don't have that differentiation like, okay, three people are there in the song, two people are involved in the songwriting, one person is, we don't feel that way much, I would say. So whatever we have come about in the song, we feel like it's four of us. And to be honest, that's what it is. Even though for a few songs there is only one person involved or two people involved, it has happened, and it has happened only because we have the other people in the band in our body, in our brains, in our system. So whatever decisions that we make subconsciously is somehow tastefully arrived at arrived at because we know that there is four people, and that sort of a chemistry is there subconsciously. I'm not sure if I'm putting it into the right words. Maybe Saran can help me out.
it's definitely not as magical as Sharath has explained. It's very difficult. There's a lot
That's
of
what I mean. It's not magical at all.
Yeah, I can totally
Sharath, I
understand
mean,
that.
probably, yeah, the way Sharath put it kind of feels natural and right, but there's a lot of, there's a lot of, I would say, creative discussions that keep happening.
Yeah.
I mean, people have different, perspectives. There is no one final word as such.
Yeah.
because being a band is not really just about the music. I think the music is the easiest thing to basically agree on. I think we are very sure of what we want to do and what we do not want to do, and we are quite in agreement most of the times. Maybe we have some disagreements, but we manage to resolve it amicably. It's not a problem at all. I think it's probably outside of the band that sometimes okay, a music video is something that you might struggle with to finalize, because our strengths are not to visualize and to to storyboard and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
maybe we can provide creative inputs, but that's not really our strength. So we have to kind of trust other people to do it. So we have
Yeah.
Arun, who's Akash's brother, who's always been like a creative reference point for us, because he's somebody who's looking in from the outside. So we have our
Yeah.
friends, and Pranav, who's directed a lot of our music videos. So he
Yeah.
is also a creative reference. So we also have to like have other people also kind of just give their opinion on what would be right for the band, because as people who are inside the band, it's sometimes our perspectives are a little narrow. Maybe someone else might be able to see something that is so very obvious to them but isn't as obvious to us. So it's just about trusting the four of us, and also the people and friends around us as well.
So it's safe to say that if not necessary with one another, every one of you is equipped with someone who may not be pursuing music professionally or is not really musically
Yeah,
inclined, but kind of understands the
yeah,
sentiment and the emotions, the kind of understands the beat that goes behind the music that you all make.
yeah, absolutely. So you don't have to be really a musician, and actually sometimes it helps not being a musician, because the way that you approach something is very different. So I think it happens. I mean, maybe an example is like Pranav, who's worked with a band from. He was directing the band's music videos. He's done 2 music videos with us.
Yeah.
So if I mean, he's been a close friend. So that happens for like, because we've been together for a long time. A lot of our friends are also like our friends with all of us. So it's like I'm friends with the band. So that's mostly what the people would say. So you just tell. I mean, we have a new song. We might send it to him, and then he might, because he's listening for it for the first time, he's coming up with you know his perspective is very different to all of ours. His feedback, I mean, his feedback might not change anything literally, but or it might not really make a huge difference in terms of, okay, have a guitar there or drums there or whatever. But there are a lot of value in that feedback, in whatever is coming from such friends. So especially if it's not a musician, it's much more helpful, because people who are listening to the songs are not all of them are musicians. So but they're all music lovers,
Yeah.
and sometimes that perspective is something that uh, we lack, because there is a certain way that we perceive music. So that's definitely a very very good perspective to have.
Well, let's talk about Kochi. Performing in Kochi sometimes in comparison to Bangalore, because for a lot of us festival regulars, or people who would like to attend different music festivals, there is a difference in sensibility. There is a difference in the culture. There is a difference in there's a sizable difference in in just the uh, in the atmospherics, between attending a music festival or any gig based in Bangalore versus Kochi, because Bangalore, everybody knows, is a metropolitan city, firstly, and secondly, it's one of the biggest hubs of independent music in India. In comparison, Kochi, although it's a huge tourist attraction in itself, but also being a half Keralite, I understand this that there is always a certain you could say a reservation of sorts. You could say that there is a certain mental block, if that's the right word, or there's always a certain kind of conditioning or a certain amount of conservatism in Kochi, that we
Hmm.
that there's always this certain like, at least the local gaze in Kochi is very different from how the festival scene looks up in Bangalore. So for those of us who haven't really been regulars to Kochi as a city in the first place, as a band, an outfit, and as a local act that frequently and routinely performs in Kochi. What is it? What is it that you all have noticed? Have you all noticed a staggering difference, or what is it about performing in Kochi, or just being in Kochi as even an audience? How do you think is that experience any different from what we mostly witness in Bangalore, in Pune, or in Mumbai, or in Delhi?
I think it's been pretty much the same, just that a lot of people, I mean, talking about Cochin and not Kerala as a whole, I'm not very sure about Kerala as a whole, but in terms of Cochin, a lot of people are in different parts of the country. A lot of people who are into this kind of music per se, but things have changed now. And we recently played in Cochin, and actually 2 years ago, we played another show in Cochin at a smaller venue. And it was drastically different compared to how it was 3-4 years ago. So things are changing. Music has always been a very, very, very important thing for the youngsters and everybody in Cochin and in Kerala, I suppose. But like you said, the difference was, I think, in terms of the industry that mostly the music falls in. So a lot of film music happens, a lot of commercial music happens, and a lot of cover bands scene is there in Kerala as a whole. But I think we've crossed that swing, and it's slowly, coming out of that whole cover and a film music thing, and people are actually looking forward to independent music from the state and also from outside the state. So that is slowly happening. I think it's all like a cycle, and people get a lot of this, and then suddenly they don't want that anymore, and then this takes over, and suddenly people don't want this anymore. So I think it's all about that. But in terms of exposure for the musicians in Kerala, most of them really want to travel across the country at least and play shows, and that's why I think a lot of us, a lot of the musicians that we know have moved out of Kerala. Not to say that it's a bad place to stay for musicians or anything. It's just that opportunities are slightly more, and you're connected to the business side of things. You're connected more to the booking agents. You're connected more to the managers and things in Bangalore or Chennai per se. So I think it's mostly that.
But I think, first of all, I think we can't just call it a Kochi scene and not really, not integrate places like Calicut or Trivandrum, where we have played shows, and it's an amazing scene over there. That people are so passionate about music. People are amazing with bands and artists. And I think the biggest problem in Kerala has always been that there hasn't been venues where bands can come and play regularly, and they can, sustain that venue over a long time. So, places where music happens, people really do it out of passion, and then there's only so much you can do with passion, and not financially for it to make sense. And Bangalore, the bigger advantage is that there are clubs which are allowed to serve alcohol, which are allowed to make back money from other sources rather than just be a venue. So that is, I think, a little bit more sustainable. It was sustainable in Bangalore. I don't think it's sustainable anymore, even now, because a lot of venues have closed down in Bangalore as well. So the Cochin problem has been that there's no consistent place where there's no venue, as you can say, over the last 5 years, where you can say, I can go there on a Friday and then there will be a band playing. There's absolutely no place like that in Cochin. So, but the music festivals have always been big, and we've always produced amazing artists. And I think most of the bands in India, even today, would just have, that's a rule, that there would be one Malayali in a band in India. We have always seen that. So we have good artists, we have a good scene. Actually, the scene has become much more better now. Indie Gaga was a sold-out festival with more than 3,000 people in Kochi. So that's, I mean, it's getting back together. But hopefully there are more venues who come up. And there are a lot of indie musicians now, in terms of playback singers and people who generally work in film scene, are also thinking that indie music is cool, then they want to release indie music. They want to release their own stuff rather than just make music for the films. There's a lot of producers and mix engineers, and like Vivek Thomas is a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
We worked on 2 albums together, and I mean, and a lot of people from Bombay and Delhi are coming here to record with people like that. And even the film scene, a lot of people who are good directors, good photographers. I mean, good, and they want to work in indie because they're passionate about that, and they're really into the music, and not just for not just for the money, and they're very passionate about it all. So
And
I think
also, I
it's a
think
very
at the
different
same,
scene. Yeah.
yeah, I think at the same time now, I see that people are okay with paying for live music.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
earlier,
Yes.
I'm talking just in terms of Kerala, but even bands who sing and make music in Malayalam or Tamil or whatever regional language it is, probably it's because of the popularity of the artist that they could make money. It's not necessarily because they could charge 1,500, let's say. But right now things are changing, and I feel like people are more willing to pay for the experience than thinking that, oh, okay, there is this 2 bands, why should I pay 500? I would rather wait for 5 months to go to this festival. That mentality is done with, I feel
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and we've crossed
absolutely.
that stage. And I think I'm not so sure about saying that, but probably Kerala would be a little late in joining that party, but it's all for the good. It's all for the good. It's all for the good. We can change that. We can see that happening now, and people are traveling from all small parts of Kerala and the big parts, the cities, towns, and they're coming to attend festivals. They're traveling outside the state. They're going to like a festival like Weekender or Magnetic Fields or the Supersonic or whatever. So there are people who, they like the experience and not just think in terms of like money and stuff. Sometimes you need to pay more to get good experience out of yeah.
But one very interesting takeaway that I just kind of took from your answers is that Malayalam films have become very proactive about working with newer talents. They want newer creative voices in films. And do you think
Yeah.
that's largely because of the kind of exposure that Malayalam cinema now in recent years has got through OTT? Because there's a huge demand for homegrown, Malayalam films and homegrown Malayalam stories to be, waiting to be told. And, a lot of, at least the younger generation of actors and, technicians are very, very, they're very cued into, what's happening in the independent music space. So do you think that also largely contributes to, so many of you getting a chance? I think clearly with this OTT boom, the line between mainstream and independent has considerably blurred.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think that has happened again. Like I said, I feel like that has happened multiple times, probably in the near past. When you get a lot of something, then you suddenly don't want that. You want something different. And when you get something which is too strange and too weird and and then you feel like you want something that's like focused and something that's popular. And I think that keeps happening, that shift. So like you said, I feel like definitely the OTT platforms and all that has given a slight push to the independent music scene, but I'm not really sure on that because independent music has always been in the forefront in the South, at least, for sure.
Yeah.
And probably the business side of things are picking up. Probably it's that young people want more experiences and they want to, have things to do with their friends and whatever that is. So I think that is where probably the growth is happening more exponentially than saying that it's because of the OTT, it's because of the independent movies, or it's because of Spotify or Bandcamp or whatever. I think it's just the cultural shift, which is just starting to take place, I feel like.
Well, that's what
There's a lot more crossovers, to be honest, from between these days because we have a lot of friends who used to be. I mean, indie musicians are asked to do film, to be technicians in films. I would say not just musicians, but also other technicians as well. And people who are already playback singers or singers or music directors are ready to, how they want to put indie music out. So it's happening both ways, and
Right.
the technicians are a lot, they're all similar, and the same people work on both. So I think that's definitely, I think it's blurred most, maybe it's true that it's happening a lot more nowadays. I'm not sure what is the reason for that, but I think indie music is definitely becoming much more cooler and much more
In
and
demand.
there's, and I think, yeah, in demand, and there is also not a lot of ways in which a film music can be pushed. Earlier it was just like a lot of things were exclusive to films and or commercial music, but now that's not the case. Like everyone uses similar kind of platforms to engage with art, engage with
Yeah.
music or content, and so I think that has made it a lot more democratic in terms of, now it doesn't matter where it is coming from, what it is a part of, as long as it's good stuff that's coming out, definitely you will have an audience for it.
Sarang and Sharat, to lastly conclude our interview, looking at some of the amazing acts over the years, I mean, since we've already discussed that, y'all have been making music for almost a decade, and it's been such a phase of evolution. It's been a phase of such transition that has witnessed the emergence and the growth of so many independent artists in the country. So in your leisure time, when the band members are sitting and unwinding after a long, grueling day at work, and you all have some favorites to listen to. So who are the artists that you all like to dig in your spare time?
I think, like I said, random music that we might have listened to in the past, sort of like reviving. Also classics. A lot of these days, I find myself listening to the music that I grew up listening to,
Yeah.
and like 90s, 2000s Rahman, and some like earlier forms of rock music and music. Mostly, I also listen to a lot of relaxing music, whether that's ambient or instrumental or things like that. So it's just a wide variety. We don't like sit together and listen to music as a ritual or as something that's passive or anything. It's mostly just we just do our thing, and sometimes we make music, and other times we're just talking and doing other fun stuff.
Yeah, so there's very little music when we get together these days. It's almost silence, and we would rather prefer to talk to each other and then listen to each other than
Yeah.
have music playing in the background. Like that's been the biggest difference in us for the last, I don't know, maybe as we have
Yeah.
become older.
Just like
Earlier
listen
it
to
used
each
to be,
other, pay attention to.
Yeah.
Take it.
earlier it was very, I think we always like we had very specific songs that would be there, and like we would consciously want to DJ and play music, and then music would probably be the center stage. But
Next is
right
mine.
now it's definitely yeah. I want to play this track. So I think that happens now also.
These days.
It might
Yeah.
happen, but I
Yeah.
think it's very, very rarely that happens these days. Most of the time we would rather kind of go to a place where there's absolutely no music, so that we can just have good food, enjoy the drink, talk to each other, and I think that's been more important. But I think if your question is more from a Indian band, I mean Indian
Yeah.
music perspective,
Yes.
there are a lot of artists that we love. I think the F-16 boys are we played together long time ago, so they're doing well. When Chai Met Toast is definitely one of the biggest bands in India
I'm
right
happy
now.
you took these two names in the same breath. Sorry to cut you there. I'm happy you took these two names in the same breath, because if I have to list, like when I call you guys my earliest favorites, I would have also put the F-16s and When I Met Toast in the same bracket with you, because that's how long I've been listening to all of you. So I'm happy that you share the sentiment.
No, I think maybe we won't like. I'm not gonna lie and say like we don't listen to their music all the time, but we are always like looking out for those guys, and we're like, okay, have they
We
put
root
out
for them
something?
because they're South Indians. Just
Yeah.
Yes, I think I think this is a very mutual sentiment here. Thanks, Sharat, for being
Yeah.
so outspoken and blunt about it. Yes.
Yeah.
but we also look forward to
Namma boys.
PCRC gigs.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
There's definitely that kind of a sentiment within us, but I mean, yeah, but musically we look forward to even PCRCs. I mean, they're huge. They're, a band that we really love. We go to their gigs. So, lots of artists, even in Bangalore, a lot of independent musicians, beat makers, singer-songwriters, electronic artists. And we had like, okay, for our remix album, which we released during the pandemic, we had 16 of our favorite artists, beat makers. I think 11 of others, and five were within the band. So 11 others. One of yes, they are already our favorites, and they know that they are our favorites, which is why we call them. So they were kind enough to remix our songs for Celestive, and then that was something that was done for COVID relief also. So I mean, those are artists. I mean, I don't want to name all of them because I'll definitely miss out a lot of those people. So I mean, that's a good reference point to start on, like the music that we like in India and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, here's looking to more of our homeboys, going ahead in life and making all of us proud. But thank you so much, Sarang and Sharath, for speaking to me this afternoon. And I have, like you've always rooted for the S16s, the When Chime Toast. As an ardent listener myself, I've always rooted for all three bands to,
and we have more bands also. I've just literally
there's
missed them
too
out.
many.
Yes.
We have like 20 bands that we're rooting for, and then
there's just so much, and a lot of bands that we like, they're not there anymore. Actually,
yeah, absolutely.
To mention Sky Rabbit was one of them. I don't know where the hell they are, but they're not there anymore. And that's probably, to be honest, and to say the bands that we go and watch, we have watched over and over again, they're one of them. And all the other bands and artists that Sarang has mentioned, we all like them because they are doing what they actually want to do, and they're doing what we also want to do, and they are doing it all the time. So it's more out of that space than the kind of music that they make or whatever. It's because they want to do just that. So we respect artists who just want to do that full time and who do it themselves, and who fund themselves however little way or large way they want. So we appreciate those kind of artists more than saying we like the music or that, and whatever that can be, whatever we like it or not, that's none of anybody's business, because it doesn't matter. But we appreciate and respect them, all these bands. So that's actually probably the takeaway from that, probably, I guess.
Rightfully said, Sharath. But thank you so much, guys, for doing this interview. And here's hoping that as and when Black Letters is in Mumbai, or as and when I'm down to Bangalore or Kochi, I get a chance to watch you guys live and hopefully meet all of you in person. But thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you. Hey, it was great. Thank you so much.
See you soon. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. Thank you.